A few years ago, you might remember the national manhunt that took place after a viral incident in the city of Lufkin, Texas, about 120 miles northeast of Houston. A teenage girl filmed herself removing a tub of Bluebell ice cream from a grocery store freezer, and then on camera, she licked the lid along with some of the ice cream before placing the whole tub back in the freezer for someone else to find. And in response to this, Bluebell, which is headquartered in Texas, dispatched an emergency response team, which they have on hot standby at all times, just in case something like this were to ever happen. If there's a licking incident, they're there. And to their credit, Bluebell quickly identified the store in question because of course, their staff recognized the freezer from the storage. After all, they didn't become the number 2 vanilla ice cream brand in the country without a deep understanding of their local markets. And then Bluebell's people rushed inside the store like a SWAT team, removed all ice creams of the same flavor that the woman licked in the video. For the record, the flavor was Tin Roof, which, according to the New York Times, a highly detailed investigative report of the story, features vanilla ice cream with chocolate fudge swirl and roasted peanuts dipped in dark chocolate. I don't know anyone would ever want to eat ice cream with peanuts in it, but that's a whole different story. Meanwhile, doctors spoke to various media outlets about the dangers of consuming Bluebell ice cream that had someone else's saliva on top of it. And surprisingly, not all the news was bad. One doctor, for instance, claimed that the risk of infection was, quote, partly diminished because of the ice cream's low temperature and high sugar content, since freezing could cause the water and bacteria to freeze and expand, destroying the bacteria, and sugar could leach water out of the bacteria, close quote. Now, eventually, mercifully, the saga ended when police caught the 17-year-old responsible for this particular incident, although they didn't have much luck with the 10 million copycats who sprang up. But as media attention subsided, as far as we know, the licking stopped, at least we hope it did, and people went about their lives. Customers could buy Bluebell ice cream in peace without fear that somebody's saliva might be part of the ingredients. But there was one question about that video that was never addressed, even though it's the most interesting part of the whole thing. And that question is this: why did the teenage girl do that? Why exactly did she film herself committing a crime and then upload the incriminating footage on the internet for everyone to see? What psychological factors are involved in a decision like that? Is this something that's more common among women? Or is it equal among the genders? And how can we stop young women or people of any, or young men from engaging in this kind of behavior for their good and the good of everyone who wants to eat sanitary, unmolested ice cream? Well, unfortunately, despite the wall-to-wall coverage, no one ever addressed that aspect of the whole situation. But this is a discussion worth reopening today after a woman using the name Sarah Roberts uploaded perhaps the most incriminating footage that has been posted on TikTok. This does not involve ice cream or anything being licked, but this is kind of the Bluebell licking incident times about 1,000. If the Bluebell licking incident resulted in a long-form New York Times article and segments on every major television network, then this one deserves a primetime special of some kind. So behold, as Sarah Roberts informs the world of 2 relevant pieces of information, neither of which advances her own interests in any way. First, she declares that she wants Elon Musk to be murdered. And then for good measure, she adds that she has not paid her taxes for the better part of a decade. Watch.
I promised myself I would avoid the news. But obviously I haven't. Here's my one thought. I have many thoughts. Elon Musk, we need to X him. And by X, I mean formerly known as assassination. I know someone from FBI is gonna show up. I don't. Arrest me. You don't have enough people to even investigate me at this point. I haven't filed my taxes in 8 years. And yet, no one's covered me. So, I'm going to say it. Let's assassinate some other.
Now, what's great about this clip, to the extent that anything this woman says can be described as great, is that she starts by using coded language. She says that somebody needs to X Elon Musk. And if you're not really paying attention, you might not get the message right away, I guess, if that wasn't clear enough. After all, X is the name of the social media platform Elon Musk owns, so maybe she means that everyone needs to reach out to Elon Musk on X and voice their disapproval of his various political positions. Keeps it kind of vague. I mean, she makes the throat-cutting gesture, so that also makes it pretty clear. But in case it wasn't clear, within about 2 seconds, she comes right out and says, by X him, I mean assassinate. So, So much for subtlety, I guess. Now the gym memberships, the diets, the New Year's plans have likely already faded away. There's still one plan worth keeping, growing closer to God. Meet Hallow, the #1 prayer app in the world with over 10,000 guided prayers and meditations. Hallow makes spiritual growth simple and accessible right from your phone. Start your day with the groundbreaking Bible in a Year podcast featuring Father Mike Schmitz, who brings scripture to life in ways you've never experienced. Join Jonathan Rumi from The Chosen for daily gospel reflections accompanied by insights from biblical scholar Jeff Cavins. Short on time, try the Daily Minute Prayer. Need help winding down? Explore their nightly sleep prayers. Whatever your schedule, Hallow fits into your life with customizable reminders, schedules, and a supportive community to keep you accountable. This year, put your relationship with God first. Let Hallow guide you on your spiritual journey, one prayer at a time. Go to hallow.com/Matt Walsh for 3 months free of Hallow today. Unfortunately for Sarah Roberts, in the end, she was probably a little too explicit for her own good. The post went all over the internet in a matter of hours, and in response to this video, Elon Musk posted the following message on X, quote, "Death threat and admission of multiple counts of tax fraud." And then Musk tagged Ed Martin, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, and Martin, for his part, responded, quote, "Duly noted, thanks for letting us know. We'll put you in the system. Talk soon, ma'am. Hashtag no one is above the law." So this is what's known as instant karma, and it's becoming a theme of the second Trump administration. When things happen that are obviously wrong, very quickly they're being corrected. That happened just the other day when Libs of TikTok posted this image on X, and it shows a medical form that's being given to service members at a U.S. Air Force base. And as you can see, it demands to know their gender identity and pronouns and so on. And one of the possible gender identities is non-binary, but there's also an other option, so service members can fill in the blank. Now, in any other administration, this would have been completely ignored by the government, but that didn't happen this time. It's a clear violation of Trump's executive order on gender identity. And the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, recognized that immediately. Within 24 hours, Hegseth responded, quote, "all over it." And something similar happened last night when Tulsi Gabbard fired 100 intelligence officials for participating in lewd and disturbing conversations on the NSA's internal communication system. That was a story that City Journal and Chris Ruffo broke. It went viral, and within 24 hours later, there was a decisive response. This kind of thing would have been unheard of just a few years ago, but now there's immediate accountability. So in a sense, the point is you can't blame Sarah Roberts for thinking that no one would actually do anything about her video. In the federal government, this kind of responsiveness isn't exactly the norm. That's why her video is a fantastic demonstration of the sheer entitlement and this kind of false sense of security on the left. They've been held to basically no standard and lived lives free of consequence or accountability for years now. Up until a couple of months ago, she could have actually made that video and made a death threat and admitted to tax evasion and been relatively confident there'd be no repercussion. But the world is changing now. For what it's worth, I went looking for Sarah Roberts' various social media accounts after all this blew up, and it looks like she's either removed them or made them all private. So Sarah Roberts seems to understand that this time around, maybe there will be consequences for her actions. But I was able to see that the biography on one of her social media accounts appears to have she, her, hers pronouns listed, along with the message, "I bless lives." In other words, this is yet another instance of someone who repeats all the stock liberal mantras of peace and love, only to turn around and endorse the idea of murder and tax fraud. But the larger point is that these kinds of videos are always, to me, a fascinating study of human psychology. Again, I circle back to my original question, which is, why post something like this? What's the win here, okay? It's an extremely incriminating video that can achieve nothing but making your own life worse. There's no world, even a few years ago, if you post this video, there's not any world where you benefit from it. It can't make anything better. There's no win, aside from a few likes and nods of approval from random people on the internet. So that's it. That's the win. For the sake of that meager amount of social media clout, she will risk going to prison. It's amazing that a grown adult woman would think that this is a trade worth making. But Sarah Roberts did think this was a trade worth making. And as a result, right now, she has about 8 years of tax payments to send into the federal government. And she has put me in the position, for the first time in my career, ever probably, of rooting for the IRS to collect some tax money. And that is why, more than anything, Sarah Roberts and every other leftist who broadcast their crimes on the internet on the assumption that nobody will ever do anything about it are today canceled. Thanks for checking out this video. If you'd like to listen to my full podcast on the go, you can check out The Matt Walsh Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.